It's time now for the latest news on what's hot and what's not in the world of technology with Mathew Dickerson on Tech Talk. Here on TCFM 88.9.
Morning, Matthew. How are you?
Good morning. I feel a bit low today. I've lost the stool and I'm back on a chair, so I feel like a little schoolboy at the moment.
Well, you're a naughty schoolboy too, what's more. Very quickly, congratulations again on the book, Tech Talk, and it's all out at the moment, and we're going to give one away this morning.
Certainly. You can give two away if you like. Why don't you be incredibly generous with your listeners?
I'll give two away. Okay, one this hour and one next hour. Sure. Now, this particular one I want to bring up straight away with you is the Tambourine Mountain School principal, Tracy Brose, who won a defamation suit against a parent who used social media. This is unbelievable.
And there's actually more than one parent who actually end up having to pay for this. And it's that classic thing that we see so much in society now. There's someone that's unhappy or aggrieved or something didn't go the way they wanted it to go. So what do? They vent on social media. And then other people pile on and suddenly there's all this venting and you get this really out of proportion, aggravated sort of attack on someone for some maybe minor issue that occurred in the first place. And so that's what happened with this particular school principal, and it can happen a lot in schools. People don't get picked on a sporting team or someone doesn't get recognition at a school assembly. There's so many potential issues there, and they all piled on, and this particular principal said, well, I think you've gone too far, asked for an apology, and some of the parents did. Some of the parents did say, okay, we think we've gone too far, we apologise. Some dug their heels, and so she sued them for defamation. Now, a lot of people talk about defamation laws in Australia as being way too strict, and in most places around the world, probably in America in particular, you would struggle to get through some of these defamation suits that we see in Australia. But this school principal won this defamation suit. Some of the parents have had to pay out significant sums of money. I think at the moment she's up to about $180,000 she's collected. She said all along it's not about the money, although I'm sure she doesn't mind the $180,000.
I wouldn't.
But one of the particular parents has actually declared themselves bankrupt. They've had to basically pay so much to their solicitor. Their solicitor effectively owns their house now. So it's had a major impact on some of the parents. But again, it's a good example of using social media in a way that's fair and reasonable, not thinking that nothing's ever going to come back and hit you. And I think that's the lesson here with this, is that if it can happen to some parents in Tambourine, well, it can happen to anyone anywhere. If you're happy to go and just say whatever you want on social media, be prepared that we do have defamation laws in Australia and they may come back and bite you.
Indeed, and in this case, because she was defamed by so many people and rudely, and really we can't use some of the expressions on the air, stick it, we won't go dot, 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 dot. But I mean, that's the basis of all this.
Yeah, exactly right.
And I just hope that a number of other principals look at this, because in my final years as a school counsellor, I saw principals at both state and private schools being harassed more and more and teachers being harassed more and more by parents. My little Susie was picked on by you, and you made her do whatever little Susie had to do, and Susie might be just a absolute rotten child, but teachers are really got their hands tied at the moment, and principals particularly. Yeah. And I just say good on to Tracy Brose, and I just hope every other principal around the place, and I know a lot of schools have got radios on in the office at the moment, tell your principal about Tracy Brose, and when you get some rough stuff on social media, ring up the parent and say, see you in court.
Yeah, that's right. And I think one of the things that amazes me is that face-to-face you'll see people, and they'll be pleasant, they'll talk about the weather, and then they go home and sit behind a keyboard and a monitor, and suddenly they're this keyboard warrior that comes out with all this vile information. So anyway, look, it's a good example of just being aware that our defamation laws do apply to social media.
Indeed, and just again, congratulations to that principal. Okay, cyber attack forced the cancellation of wool sales across Australia. Interesting one.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
75% of the wool sales across this nation go through a software company called Talman. And so Talman had a cyber attack, a ransomware attack. And so a ransomware attack basically encrypts all of your data, and then you get a message from the company or the scammers that are trying to take money off you and say, to unencrypt all your data and to have operations resume as normal, please pay X dollars. And in this case, it would have been X millions of dollars. Now, Talman did the right thing. They said, no, we're not going to pay some ransomware company because you'll just do it again next week and next week and next week. they went back to their backup systems and restored their backup. But because it's such a huge database and such a big system, it took some days to actually get it up and going, and it only got up and going again yesterday. So there was almost a week there where wool sales across this nation were effectively frozen. Sure, they only had 75% of the market, but that's a big chunk of the market. Yeah, so you think about the farmer out there working in the paddock, getting a bit of wool, and then some cyber attack from somewhere in the world stopped him from actually making money out of his wool. Yep. Quite incredible.
Yeah, quite incredible. We've had a systems failure in here over the weekend. You've got no idea. I lived here over the weekend, and I just anybody's had a systems failure, I can assure you, I know how you feel and what you have to do to get things back and running. And Sunday morning was a disaster.
I've often said that the next world war won't be fought with nuclear warheads. It'll be fought with people behind keyboards, sitting in darkened rooms somewhere, attacking other countries from a cyber attack. Because you can bring the wool industry to its knees with a cyber attack, but I think there's a lot of people out there trying to bring countries to their knees with the same concept.
Indeed, and we've had a strike on our Australian Defence Forces again in the last 24 hours. Now, the Pope has got a cough. We're a bit worried about the Pope, actually. He's got a cough. Is it the dreaded corona? But anyway, ethics and the Pope and tech giants are combining together to do wonderful things, and the Pope seems to be at 83 right into it. What's happening?
Well, it's not the marriage you'd expect to see. It's not that sort of partnership that seems obvious. IBM, Microsoft, and the Vatican.
I mean,
you've got a very long traditional hardware company, the most successful software company in the world, and then the Catholic Church. It seems like a strange concept, but AI is being developed incredibly quickly. And there is concern from a number of different organisations that the AI that's developed, when does it become human-like? Where is the boundary between it being human or taking over human activities versus it just being a machine? And Alan Turing, of course, proposed the Turing test back in 1950. And the Turing test is quite interesting. It just says if you can have a conversation via a keyboard and screen with something else at the other end, and you can't tell the difference between if it's a machine or a human, then it's effectively passed the Turing test, which means that human can think in inverted commas, or that machine, sorry, can think in inverted commas. And so that's where we're moving into with all of this AI. You can be having conversations right now with some chatbots when you're sitting there with some tech support, some help. Some of those times you're chatting with a robot. You don't realise it, but the AI is getting so sophisticated. So the Catholic Church said we should look at this from an ethics perspective and help Microsoft and IBM in their development of AI make sure it's an ethical development, which is quite fascinating.
It is fascinating, and something that I think, as a lead from the Pope, is a good one.
Yeah.
A very, very good one, and other churches can take advantage of it. And I know you're going to be waiting for this one about the iPhone, aren't you? Come on, I left it till last. I knew, I just thought, this is Matthew all over.
Not at all, I'm just reporting the facts. Just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. So the top selling phones of 2019 have been released. And no surprises here, Samsung and Apple fill 9 of the top 10 places. Yes. So no surprises there. The number 1 selling phone was the iPhone XR. So that's the budget phone that was released at the end of 2018 from Apple. The number 2 selling phone was quite surprising. The iPhone 11 was number 2 in the list. Now, the iPhone 11 was only released in September 2019. So it was only out for about 4 months of the year, and that became number 2. So it really shows that the budget phones are going much better than the mainstream phones. Now, the other interesting thing is that back in 2018, the Samsung S9 and S9 Plus, the premium flagship phones from Samsung, were in the top 10. This year, Samsung had a number of phones in the top 10, but they were their A series and their J series, and they're both their budget series. Their premium, their flagship, the Galaxy S series, the 10, unbelievably fantastic phone, didn't make the top 10.
Yeah, I know.
So it's fascinating. So Samsung and Apple ruling the roost. A lot of competition there. Samsung will be happy about the number they've got in the top 10 and the number of their overall sales. They won't be happy about their flagship not being in there. And that's good news for you and I, because it means that they'll ramp up the competition. Apple will be trying to hold on to number 1. Samsung will be trying to take it off them. And that ends up in better phones and better prices for you and I.
Indeed. And so the S10 goes in the garbage bin tonight, does it?
It's still a great phone. That's the thing.
It is a good phone. I mean, I've got one, as you know, and it's a great phone. I love it.
But what it shows me is that people are after the slightly cheaper phones rather than the premium flagship phones. And again, with Apple, we saw that the iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max did make the top 10, but they were much further down the list than the 11 and the XR.
Yeah, all right. Good, Matthew. Always good talking with you, mate. We're way over time, of course. It's 20 to 10, DCFM 88.9, and we'll do Tech Talk again next Wednesday morning, around about 9:30. Right now, though, it's Art Garfunkel. And he's got some bright eyes right here on DCFM 88.9.